you made no qualms about being a follower of Jesus Christ. In fact, I noticed on your Twitter, I want to put this on the screen, it says, Jordan Smith, this is his Twitter account, winner of The Voice, season 9, Kentuckian, musician, traveler, follower of Christ. All right, great. God bless you, man. Great. Great. So, tell me about your relationship to Jesus.
Well, I grew up in a Christian home. My parents are both Christians, and they took me to church every time the doors were open, and they really instilled in me from a very young age, just growing up, how important it was not only to be a good person, but to be a person that's full of the love of God and to pour that onto other people. And I've done everything I can, you know, just growing up to live in that. I thank my family for that. I have them to thank for that. And I have such a good support system behind me. And I've just honestly, I've grown so close to the Lord. And I try to walk with him every day. And I try to direct my thoughts towards him because he's been so good to me. He's given me so many great things. And so, yeah, I've known him my whole life, I feel. And, you know, we've been friends for so long. And,
yeah, that's right.
And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. People who don't know God don't understand this talk about friendship with God, but we're not talking about a religion, we're talking about a relationship. Now, one of the songs that you did on The Voice was a very famous hymn called Great Is Thy Faithfulness, immediately shot to #1 on Billboard. I don't know the last time we had a hymn at #1, but I want to play a clip from that on the screen. Watch this.
Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Lord, unto thee.
So tell me, how has God been faithful to you?
Well, how has he not been faithful to me?
Yeah, good question.
You know, he's done so much for me. He's healed members of my family. He's healed me. He's given me so much. But the greatest thing I think I've ever received from God, I know, is my salvation. You know, and if he never did another single thing for me in my entire life, then that's absolutely enough. Everything else is just an added bonus. Amen?
Amen.
And so he's been faithful in that, and he's you know, been faithful to forgive me and to love me and to always allow me to feel his presence in my life. And two, I told the Lord a long time ago, which I say a long time ago, but I'm only 22 years old, so for some of you, that's not a very long time ago. For you, maybe.
Hey, wait a minute.
I'm just kidding.
Wait a minute.
But I told the Lord a long time ago to me that I never wanted to use his name to promote my position, but I always wanted to use my position to promote his name and do whatever I could to make his name famous. And he's been so faithful to give me those positions and give me those platforms to promote him. And that's just one way that he's been faithful to me.
Fantastic. Now, being on The Voice, that's a lot of competition. I mean, there's a lot of incredible talent. You've got incredible talent in the judges. You've got the whole nation watching online. And I'm sure during the season, you probably had to deal with some of the fears we've just been talking about, like inadequacy and fear of disappointment and things like that. So you probably had even naysayers who said, you shouldn't even try out, you know, and so why even try? But you did. And so tell me about that. Talk to me about how you dealt with the fears throughout the season.
Okay. Actually, honestly, I'll tell you, I auditioned for The Voice in February of 2014, so almost 2 years ago. And when I auditioned the first time, I didn't make it, which was a very difficult thing for me because this has been a dream of mine for a very long time. I've been a fan of the show ever since it started, and I always felt just an attachment to it in my heart, and that was one of my desires, was to be a part of the show that I felt was so wonderful. And so for me, that was a huge disappointment in my life. And the opportunity came around. I waited out that year and I accepted that wasn't God's timing, that's not his plan, that's okay. And then a year went around, and the next February, in February of this year, I got a call, and a talent scout had seen a video of me and asked me to come back and audition for the show. But
This is like moving against the fear of disappointment, like we talked
right,
about.
right. And so in that moment, I was faced with a choice. I could either allow the fear of being disappointed again, because this was something huge, you know, that I'd wanted for so long, and I'd already been disappointed once. So I could have allowed that fear of disappointment to take control, and I could have said no, or I could have stepped out on faith and really believed that this is what God had placed in me as a desire and a dream, not only that I had for myself, but the dream that God had for me. And I stepped into that, and it just started a chain reaction of so many wonderful experiences over the past year with this show that I've been so blessed by. So I've had to overcome that just initially to even be a part of the show. And then, of course, you know, each week getting up on live television and singing high notes and standing on high things every week. There's always a little bit of fear that wants to creep in, the fear of inadequacy and knowing, you know, thinking that you're not good enough or that you can't do it. But I had to accept that I am not good enough in my own strength and in my flesh. I'm not enough. None of us are. But where I end is where God begins. And he will take everything that's out of our control, and he will do his part as long as we do what we can do with what's in our control. So I just had to do that every week. I had to do what I could and do what was in my control and leave the rest to him and prepare myself and then allow him to just move and work in whatever way he saw fit, and open myself, like you said, to that and say, whatever it is that God has for my life, that's what I want to do. And so that's just one example of how I've had to overcome my fears through this whole process.
Wow. Okay, how many of you will promise to pray for Jordan and his career? All right. How many of you vote that we make him a member of Saddleback Church? All right, okay. How many of you will buy at least 2 of his next album? Jordan Smith, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? Thank you.